Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL Don't Panic. This game would drive you fucking mad, wouldn't it? Did a video a few days ago in the lobby of a hotel. Really poor audio quality. Hands up apologies, guys. That was an absolute shocker. But I'm really, really glad I did it, though, because at least I can say I did set it first, because I woke up this morning and as usual, I just put on one of the YouTube channels just to see what was happening in the FPL world, and it was actually FPL Hub was the first thing that came up, and I think it was FPL Pricey was interviewing someone that's had a very, very big success rate in FPL over the years. In fact, has won quite a lot of money. I think his last win was something like $70,000 or $80,000, and within 2 minutes of him starting to talk, I thought, you're talking about exactly the same thing that I was talking about 3 days ago in that video I did, which is a very, very aggressive chip strategy. So, as some of you that watched it will recall, through sort of all the background noise and the static and everything, I spoke about this strategy, which was treating game week 1 like a free hit, maybe even doing the bench boost there, just stacking it up like this mega free hit, actually doing the free hit on game week 2, and then coming in with a team that still actually looked pretty good in game week 3, because I'd actually had stacked up on home fixtures in game 3, and then wildcarding in game week 4, maybe 5 if I can scrape it out to that, but probably realistically 4. Why on earth would you want to do that, I hear you ask, and it's a good question, particularly as did something similar to that last year. Worked to a degree, but the wild card didn't work. It was an ill thought out wild card, to be honest with you, because it was working reasonably well. And I was actually very, very high up. Then I had a massive rank drop because the spreadsheet was stacked. It was too much over reliant on Haaland and Salah both falling at the same time, because I was working trying to get that 70-point average. Unfortunately, yeah, it showed the 70-point average, but it was over reliant on 2 players, and namely, of course, Haaland fell away, and so did my rank. Won't make that mistake again. But as a strategy, it was okay, and it obviously put me in a difficult position then in the second half of the season, because I had to play through the second half of the season without chips, basically, which was because I was very, very focused on my spreadsheets and the data, the averages. It was actually a very, very successful part of the season for me, game week 20 right out to the end of the season. It was definitely my most successful part of the season. This year, though, I don't even have to worry about not having chips in that second half, because, of course, we have the double chips. So why still, when all logic would say, well, it's better to hold on to the chips, and still until later, even with having the double chips. Well, this guy was, when I was listening to this guy this morning, it was like the words I was saying the other day, a few days ago, was it's like it was, and I don't think for a second that he saw my video and suddenly thought had an idea. Oh, I'll copy that. Because I say FPL Price, he's got something like 100,000 subscribers, and what have I got? 360. Nope, 357, because some of you unsubscribed after the last video, as you saw my insanity. But hear me out again. I'm going to repeat this, and then they're going to try and keep this fairly quick. And that those reasonings, I think, have become even more clear. There are going to be a lot of players who are going to go really, really hard out at the start of the season. Now, some of them will be your fly-by-nighters. They're just trying to get that number 1 in the world, just have their one day of glory. But there will be a lot of them that are playing a similar strategy to this, I think. And I think it is actually reasonably well thought out, the more that I've thought about it. DEF CON is definitely one of the big reasons. The more I have analysed this, the more I realise what a game changer this is. I mean, I've actually started to work out teams now where you could play with a 5-4-1, and you can be pretty certain that you're going to get an minimum average of 4 out of those 5 defenders on a week-by-week basis, without adding in any attacking returns or adding in clean sheets. Now, you think about that, you have 5 players, and across the board they're averaging 5, 6, maybe even 7 points a game. you know, costing you 5, 5.5, maybe 6. Then you stack the rest of the team. Now, I'm not saying that's the way to go. What I'm saying is, I don't know. Nobody actually knows. We're going to have players. I did a bit more analysis around Rodri. I've spoken about Rodri a few times, and I might actually bring up some of his data in the next video I do. He would be an outrageous asset if he's performing at the levels he was 2, 3, 4 years ago. There's some worries, obviously, around fitness, rotation, you know, managing his minutes, you know, but there are going to be players that are going to come through that we haven't even thought about, and they're going to be bringing in good, regular point hauls. So we don't know, you know, are they going to be? Are there going to be better assets? Than your Rogers. You know, I know he's got injured, but you know, Rogers, etc. You know, players like this. You know, Mitomas, players that we've often think about bringing in. But you know, these sort of defensive midfielders with the fairly regular sort of, you know, maybe the 1 in 3, 1 in 4 attacking return, but they're picking up these regular 2 points for their DEFCON. They're getting their 2 appearance points, maybe a clean sheet point. Boom, and these guys are suddenly getting 7, 8, 9 points regularly. We don't know. So the reasoning behind a strategy like this, as aggressive as it is, there's a few reasons. One, there's going to be a lot of players that are going to play something like this, and they are going to get off with a wet sail. You know, they're going to be, you know, while the rest of us are ticking along maybe with our 60s and 70 points, we could still find ourselves down in 5, 6 millionth place. Or certainly maybe not that, could easily be that bad, even though we're doing respectable scores. So although we may have our chips in hand, it's harder to come back from that than to defend it. And to have seen those patterns. So my theory on that is, yeah, we want to try and actually still stay in those upper echelons, you know, in that top 1 million, top 500, hopefully higher if we really catch the wet sail by playing a strategy like this, because it is going to be harder to come back from it, even with the chips in hand. But doing the very early wild card, now for me it works particularly well. It works particularly well with the way I use my spreadsheet, to see that early pattern of the players whose averages and fixtures are actually looking really good and consistent, and then to bring them in, and then if you've got it wrong, then just to adjust it on an ongoing basis. We also have, obviously there is the advantage now that we could do something like this. We know we've got the chips coming in the second half of the season, which is great, but we've also got these 5 transfers coming for AFCON around game week 16, I think it is. So if we've got those 5 transfers coming, if you do wildcard around that 4 or 5 to get ahead of the game, because I tell you, I really think people that are waiting for 11, 12, 13, they could be too late when that pattern has really, really emerged. They could be just so way off the pace, and everyone else has actually got the proper players in there, hitting those averages steadily, week in, week out. It just could be too late. It could be too late. Do think the early wild card is the way to go, and to go out aggressively in those first few games. And it looks like, although I'm not sure if I was the first set, but this is the first time on one of the other content providers that I've seen coming out with it as an absolute strategy, and very, very much for the reasons that I was talking about the other day. So I am going to do it. I think it's a definite decision. It also means we can cover off, if you go with that strategy, you can cover off if you are going the no Salah or potentially the no Haaland. I mean, you could effectively use both of them in a free hit team and put a pretty decent one together when focusing just on one game week. But certainly for me as well, it covers off the Salah threat in game week 1 with that home fixture against Bournemouth, which scares me because I think Bournemouth are looking pretty shaky defensively, and Liverpool are looking pretty good. Wirtz and Salah look as though they're really forming a really, really good understanding and combination that could actually blow them out of the water. So it covers off that Salah threat and that high effective ownership, certainly for game week 1, until we can sort of see what transpires there. So that's where I'm going. So keeping this one short, just wanted to talk about it. So my next video, I'm going to try and get it out. I'm still a little bit on the road. Someone joked to me, am I on the run? You have no idea how close to the truth you are. I'm going to come back. I'll actually be in a more settled environment after today, actually. So I should be back by tomorrow, I'd say, with first draft of this strategy, as I say, looking to treat game week 1 as a free hit with a strong bench. Game week 2, actual free hit. Game week 3 should look pretty good because I've been targeting clearly good home fixtures, and that should get the nice swing back on that on game week 3. Wildcard game week 4. I'll be back soon. Last but not least, FPL Don't Panic Mini League. Codes in the bottom there. That's the t-shirt design up the top there. Join the league. I will be cutting off a stream. I know a lot of leagues sort of don't cut off until later in the season. I want to keep it really, really nice and fair. So there is going to be a cut off on deadline day. So please do join. There'll be the weekly Bishop Brennan Cup Award for the highest point scorer with chips and hits removed. So it's like a clean, your clean 11. So if you've used a chip, it says so it's a clean 11. So keeping it fair on a week by week basis for the Bishop Brennan Cup. There is a prize for the best team name. Seen a few really good ones in there at the moment. That's the t-shirt design. So I'll judge that just after deadline, after I've closed it off. And of course, there'll be a t-shirt for the winner of the league at the end of the season, and there'll be some spot prizes across the season as well. So if you're keen, please do join the league. I will be back hopefully tomorrow, certainly over the weekend, with the draft of this for this strategy. And I'll sort of do a little bit of analysis around the numbers, hopefully that I can expect to achieve from it, and see if it really does make sense once I pumped it all into the spreadsheet. But I think it does, and I think I'm going to do it. Have fun, play your own game, don't panic. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.